The other day, I was sharing with a friend something that happened over 40 years ago, where during a personal meeting with the great spiritual master, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he told me what to do when I'm feeling love towards someone, towards anyone. His words changed my life. Hi, I'm Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success seminars, where we share ways to create a life of true and lasting success. So I had been on a 6-month course with Maharishi. Yes, that's 6 months where we meditated 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. And we were finally about to go home. Well, there were about 100 or so women on this course. And after 6 months of meditating and eating a simple vegetarian diet and being with all women and being in silence much of the time, I was pretty excited to get home and get me some pizza. But the other women on my course, not so much. They were so sad that they had to leave Maharishi. As a matter of fact, when we were each given a time that we could go in and just speak with him for a few moments before we left, most of them were weeping in line. Me, I'm like, get a grip, girl. Tomorrow we get to go home and eat some pizza and like go to the movies and see some real live men. But they were inconsolable. And then when they came out from the meeting with Maharishi, well, it was even worse. So my turn comes. Oh, and we were only supposed to ask him one question. So my turn comes and I go in and my question was, should I continue to teach meditation or should I go back to school? Because he loved us all to have our college degrees. So I go in and I kneel down on this cushion next to his couch and I look up at him and he looks down at me. And I burst into tears and I start sobbing. And I say to him, why does everyone love you so much more than I do? And what he said to me was, when love comes, let it flow. Don't stop it with your thinking. Well, I have thought so much about that as the years have gone by, because how many of us don't love? We stop it with our thinking because we judge people. We're like, oh, I'm not going to love that person. They put on a few extra pounds, or I'm not going to even approach that person, let alone love them. I heard that they're not a nice person because somebody told us that. I mean, there are so many reasons why we don't let love flow. We always stop it with our thinking. And that moment changed my life. But there's a sequel to this story. And that is that was like in the 1970s. And now, fast forward to the 2020s, I was with my friend Suzanne. It was actually 2019. I was with my friend Suzanne, and I was telling her that story because she was actually on that course with me. And she vaguely remembered it. And then she said to me, well, Deb, I think you misinterpreted what he said. I said, I did? He said, yeah. I don't think that he said that you should stop love going out with your thinking. I think he was saying to you, don't stop love when it comes towards you with your thinking. And that was bullseye for me. I think she was right. I think it's harder for most of us to let love flow towards us. And I also think that the harder and the scarier it is for us to let love flow out or in towards us or away, the greater the light will be when you allow it in or when you allow it out. Perhaps on top of all of this, the hardest person to love is you. But until we begin to remove some of our core beliefs about ourselves and develop greater self-love, it's going to be harder for us to love others and let love in. In fact, if we're not overflowing with self-love, when you think you're loving others, you're not. You're trying to get something from them. And that something is love, to fill the emptiness inside. So how do you know if you have self-love? Well, if you find it easy to let love in, and you feel it deeply when it does come to you, you can be pretty certain that you have a great deal of self-love. But if you're always deflecting, or you can't even feel it when it's directed towards you, well, then you probably have a little bit of work to do, as most of us do. So, where to start? Well, how about this one? When you do something that you feel is wrong, okay, like acting out of integrity or telling a lie or manipulating or letting someone else take the blame or taking the credit when you really didn't deserve it or hurting someone with your anger or making a promise that you don't keep, start cutting yourself some slack. The way you treat yourself is brutal compared to how you would treat somebody else who did the same thing. We are so much harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else, and it diminishes our self-love. So even though it's important that we live as the highest version of ourselves, the only reason we blame or take credit or not let go of control in the first place is because we don't trust that there is a higher power that has our backs. You don't believe that if that it'll, that you don't believe, edit here. You don't believe that it will work out if you simply do the right thing. If we were really honest, this trust thing is the hardest thing for all of us. Am I right? If we could just trust that if we let go of control and let the higher power do its work, and our only job is to do what our inner voice is telling us is the right and true and honorable thing to do, even when it's freaking scary, that's the key. That's the key to self-love. That and forgiving yourself when you don't do it, because after all, you're human and humans make mistakes. We get angry, we don't stand up for the truth, we turn a blind eye. We're just not a perfect species. If we never made a mistake, then, well, if you never make a mistake, then you're either a saint or a robot. And I don't think any robots or saints are listening to this today. Actually, if you never made a mistake, you wouldn't even be here. I want to end with a quote from Esther Hicks, you know, who channels the Ascended Master, group Ascended Masters named Abraham. I have it over here on my computer. And this quote goes like this: "The expansion of the universe and the evolution of all species is dependent on contrast. How could you ever decide what you do want without living some of what you don't want? And so be easy on yourself. Don't try to hold yourself to the impossible standard of only being in a place where everything is exactly as you want it to be. If you could do that, you would cease to exist." So, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. I hope you continue to exist, and I send you love and wishes for a life filled with all of the right kinds of true love.